In this video, I will walk you through how to use ITA's activity template via an example of a kinesthetic grammar activity for upper intermediate learners of English. Here you see the activity template. It is designed to give details about one activity, which is a fraction of a larger lesson plan. I should note that later in your course you will use a lesson plan template to demonstrate and give details about an entire lesson plan. This activity template is for a smaller part of a larger lesson. Kinesthetic learning doesn't involve merely standing up, it involves careful matching of movement to the meaning of the language, and I hope this activity demonstrates what we mean by that. So, in the template, the first box is the level and number of students. The next box, approach and goal of the activity, very important. I'm not going to read all of the details here. You can pause the video and read them yourselves. I'm just going to hit the important details. The approach here is multisensory, kinesthetic learning of grammar, passive versus active voice. We'll look at an example of what that means, but we're going to use passive and active voice. There's also a vocabulary goal, these 5 verbs and verb phrases. These are verbs that have been taught earlier. They were read in a text and the meaning was discussed, and so this is not teaching these for the first time. It's practicing them kinesthetically. And so we have this sort of SWBAT. The students will be able to identify active and passive grammar construction. They're going to complete sentences containing action verbs, and more importantly for the kinesthetic, they're going to act those sentences out. The next box is called materials needed. Very important that you list everything you need to complete this activity. The materials for this activity are 6 dice to randomize the students, and then 6 copies of the following list of sentences cut into strips, which is important. We need them to be random. So we're going to cut them into strips just to look at a couple of examples. We have this simple sentence here with blanks, blank pushes blank. That's an active sentence. And then we have the passive version of it, blank is pushed by blank. And so we have all 5 verbs or verb phrases in both the active and passive forms here with blanks. We're going to cut those into slips. Now, we're ready to look at the next box, which is expected problems. And this is where you think about what might go wrong or what could be difficult about the activity you've planned. And then we get to the meat of the activity, the stages themselves. And you'll notice there are 3 columns here. The first column on the left is time, where we put how much time each stage will take. The middle column, the instructions to students. We're looking for you to give us some very simple language, the language you will actually use in the classroom to explain to the learners what it is you want them to do. In the last column, what the teacher will be doing. We want to know what you'll be doing while the students are completing the activities. The first stage here is 3 minutes long. It's the introduction and instruction. I'm going to focus on what the teacher will be doing very briefly. I'm going to model the activity. I think that's important for all of our activities, but it's doubly important for kinesthetic activities for the learners to get a visual of what you want them to actually do. So we're going to ask for volunteers, choosing 3 stronger students. We'll show them the slips of paper, and we're going to explain them how to use the dice. Basically, we give 2 numbers of each die to one of the students, and then we roll the dice, announcing the numbers and demonstrating how those numbers determine who goes into the blank. And so for this first example, we have the verb pat in an active form. We roll a 5 and Maria gets put into the first blank, and then we roll a 3 and Ahmed gets put into the second blank. And so we physically fill that out, and we have a sentence, Maria pats Ahmed on the back. And then we ask the volunteers to act out the sentence. And this is where we have kinesthetic learning of the verb, pat. We wait for Maria to pat Ahmed on the back. Then we repeat this with another slip, being sure to use a passive example this time. We have is nudged by. So we roll and we put Juan in the first blank, Juan. Then we roll another one and we get Ahmed and for the second blank. So now we have the sentence, Juan is nudged by Ahmed. And we're going to wait for Ahmed to do the nudging. And this is where the kinesthetic learning of grammar happens, because for the first sentence, they have to notice this is active. So the first student listed will be doing the action. Whereas this one, they have to notice that the sentence is passive. So Ahmed, the second student listed, will be the one doing the action. And so them having to think about who will be doing the action, who will be receiving the action, this is how we're kinesthetically acting out the passive versus active grammar here. And that's the demonstration. Ready to move to the next stage in the activity, 2 minutes long, the creation of groups, assignments of numbers. This is just using alphabet to break the students into groups of 3. This is where we pass out the paper slips and the dice, and where we watch and help the groups assign dice numbers to their different members. That'll be very quick. And then the main stage of the activity is only 6 minutes long. This is an upper intermediate group. I don't think it will take very long. Provide clear instructions for the activity, asking them to go through all of the slips in the way that we just modeled. and we're going to monitor, walk around, make sure they're completing the activity correctly, they're acting it out, filling out the slips. And then the final stage, 4 minutes, is a whole class review. We walk around to the groups, we grab slips at random, and we ask them to act those out for the entire class. Now we tell them, don't say the sentence, act it out, and the rest of the class can kind of guess what the sentence was. And so the total time for this activity is 15 minutes. Your lessons will usually be much longer than this, but this is an activity template, not a lesson plan template. The last box of the activity template is the rationale, sort of why you made the choices you made, how it fits what you're trying to do. So I explain how the kinesthetic learning happened here, and also how this activity fits into a series of lessons. I explain here that this activity is the practice stage of a lesson, sort of the center stage. It fits into the larger lesson plan, something you'll understand a little bit better later in the course. But hopefully you have a better idea about how kinesthetic movement can help with grammar and how to use ITA's activity template. Good luck creating your own activities.